and welcome back to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed and today we are here for another great sewing tutorial. Today we are making a flat zipper pouch, perfect for those that are going back to school or just to keep your stationery in. So let's get started. So as you've seen in the intro, we're making a little pouch today. As you can see, it is a cute little flat pouch and it fits lots in it. Like, I've only got some of the stuff that I use for annotating in it, but it opens right up and I can see everything that I've got in there, including all my tabs and all that sort of stuff. And I put a little bit of bling on it so I know it's mine, and a little cute little flower zipper pull. But this is a super easy project to make, so let's get into it. Okay, so the few things that you're going to need today: you're going to need your general sewing supplies, so scissors, rotary cutter, quilting rulers, thread to match your project, your sewing machine, you need an iron and an ironing pad, and you're going to need some scrap fabric. So this is just fabric that I had left over from a project and I was able to cut enough out of it. You're also going to need a zip today as well, and you're going to need some Shapeflex 101, which is a woven interfacing, and you're also going to need some Fusible FLeece. Okay, now there are many brands out there, and I'll leave links down below of some of my favorite products that you can find links for, and you can get yourself some. I always have great success with anything that I've used. Okay, so once you've got all your supplies together, you're going to need some fabric, and I'm just using two different fabrics here that I've got left over from a project that I made some time ago. They were just left over in my scrap bin. So you're going to need a couple of little pieces, 2.5 inches by 3, and then for your lining fabric, which will have your Shapeflex 101 on the back of it, you are going to need 2 pieces that are measuring on the long side 12.5 inches and on the short side 6.5 inches. And then for your exterior fabric, you are going to need to get a piece that is 12.5 inches square, and on the back of that we put our Fusible FLeece. Now I've got a pin in here, that's just to indicate to me which way my fabric's going. So yeah, because I wanted to get a flower in between the zip and it didn't work out, so I didn't have enough fabric. So I just wanted to make sure that when it comes around on itself that I do have like something's matching up here and here, and then I'll have the zipper through the middle. But I'm using my scraps today, and that's the main reason for this video. So once you've got all of your bits and pieces together and you've got your interfacing on everything, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to grab the iron and we're going to press our tabs, and they are super easy to do. All we do is fold that in half and we give that a press, and I use my clapper for that to just make the creases. You can see those creases are holding really well. Then I'll open it back up and I'll fold it in on itself and then over on itself until I get a little piece like this. And you can see here I've done this one, and so they stay together I just use a little basic glue. It's not necessary, but I use a little bit of basic glue and I just pop a couple of little dots on there, and then I will press that close, and then I can leave it sitting there and it's not going to come undone even when I'm at the sewing machine. So I'll just hold that down for a couple of seconds for that glue to dry, and then I'll put my clapper on there. Alright, so they are our little tabs, and they're going on the outside of the bag, so you've got something to hold on to when you're unzipping it. So I'm just going to set them aside for just a second. And then I'm going to get my exterior fabric, and I'm going to take my zip, and with the teeth down I'm going to place it at the top here. Okay, so we've got our pretty side facing up, and then I'm just going to pop the some wonder clips there to hold the zip in place. And I've got a bit bigger zip. This one was a broken one, it accidentally got snipped, doesn't have the stopper on it, so I thought I'll use this up instead of it just sitting there doing nothing. So if you've got a zipper, you want to make it at least 16 inches, and the reason that we're making it a little bit bigger, the zip, is so we can top stitch down. Okay, so sort of just center it, and then we've got a little bit on either side, and then we'll just get our wonder clips Now remember that your zipper teeth are facing down. And just line that up with the edge of your fabric. And then we're going to take one of our pieces of our lining, and on the long edge where our wonder clips are, we're going to have that facing down. Okay, just like so. And then I'll just unclip those clips and clip it into place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our zipper foot onto our machine. And in some cases your 1/4 inch foot will be okay if you've got a very narrow, it's not a wide one. Mine's too wide, so I need to put a zipper foot on. But if you've got a machine like a Juki or anything like that, the presser feet are quite slim, or a FAF, and you generally just use your 1/4 inch foot. But I'm going to put my zipper foot on, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch and get as close to those zipper teeth as I can without going on them, and then I will bring it back here, show you what I've done, and then we will top stitch. Okay, so we've stitched that in, and now what we're going to do is we are just going to get rid of our long threads because we don't want them to get in the way, so we'll get rid of those or getting caught up in anything. Okay, so that's that one and that one. And next what we're going to do is we're just going to press that open. We can take this out now because I've got it the right direction, and I'm just going to give it a really good press. I'm going to pull my lining fabric away from the zip and make sure it's laying down nice and flat. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a really good press. And so once we've given it a really good press, then what we will do, we will head over to the sewing machine and top stitch that down. Alright, so let's head over to the sewing machine. Now don't forget to lengthen your stitch length because that gives you a nice finish on your top stitch, and it won't give you that little bit of, sometimes if your stitch is a little bit small, it can look a little bit wavy, so we don't want that. So make sure that you elongate your stitch and do a back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Okay, so we've top stitched that down, and you can see that there's looking really good. With our top stitch, it's nice and even. I like my stitches to be a little bit bigger because they just sit so much nicer going through all that bulk. And we'll get rid of our long threads. Okay, now what we're going to do is we've got our zipper facing up. We are going to bring up our exterior fabric. Okay, so they're right sides touching, and we're going to line that up as best as we can with the edge of the zipper tape and also with the edge of our fabric here. So we don't want to bring it up and then have it sitting like this, because what will happen is it'll end up being crooked. So we're just going to bring that up, line it up with our raw edges on the side and also with the top edge of the zipper tape. Okay, so that raw edge is lining up there, and we'll put a couple of wonder clips on. Okay, so I can see that my sides are all even and my raw edge is lining up with the top edge of the zipper tape. And now what I'm going to do is flip that over, and I'm going to take my lining fabric and I'm going to line that up with the raw edges and just clip that into place. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the sewing machine. We're going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and we're going to sew that zipper tape in, and then we will come back, give it a really good press again, and head back over to do some more top stitching. Okay, so now we have our little pouch here. We're just going to open up the zipper. I'm going to just put a wonder clip on the end so I don't accidentally zip right off. Okay, so you can see here we can open it right up and we've got our one side that is already top stitched, and on this side we can now roll this back and give it a really good press. Okay, so let's head over to the sewing machine, top stitch that down, and then we'll be ready to do the final assembly. Okay, so you can see there that we've got that side top stitched and we've also got this side top stitched. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to close the zipper just a touch. Okay, making sure it's not twisted or anything like that. I'm just going to close that a little bit, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our lining fabrics and line them up. Our raw edges with our raw edges, and we're just going to leave a little gap in the bottom, so I'll just mark that with a friction pen, just a couple of inches, and then I usually pop a couple of pins in there so I know that's where I'm stopping and starting. Okay, so we're not actually going to be closing up our sides just yet. We're just going to close this up here using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we're going to backstitch at the beginning and at the end where our pins are, and also at our sides as well. Okay, I just had to wait for the kookaburra to stop making a racket. All right, so I've got, it must be that time of the year where they're starting to nest out the front. I have a family of kookaburras that nest there. All right, so we've done that, and you can see there that we've got our little opening. So we'll just get rid of that jump thread that I have, and we've backstitched at the opening as well, which is really handy for when you're pulling it out. The seams won't pop. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that our zipper is open, and then we've got our opened end of our zipper, and what I'm going to do is just to hold that together, I'm just going to pop a wonder clip onto that, just for make it easier. Just bear with me for a sec, it's probably open a little bit too much. I've still got it open, but I'm just going to basically bring this up, and I'm just going to pop a wonder clip on there for the time being, and just to hold it together. Just makes it a little bit easier. All right, the next thing that we need to do is we need to find the halfway point. So with our zipper nicely lined up, we are just going to press this by hand, making sure that we've found the halfway mark. Grab a pin and pop it in there, and same at the other end. Okay, so we've got that in there, and now we're going to fold that zipper down. So we've got our lining sitting on top, and we're going to just, I can get rid of that wonder clip. I'm going to line my zipper up with that point, because I know that that is the center. Okay, and I'm just going to move my zipper out of the way, and I can see that the zipper teeth are lining up with that pin, and I'm just going to pop a wonder clip there to hold it for a second, and then I'm going to do exactly the same thing down the other end. So again, I'll line my teeth of the zipper up and make sure that I've got all these long threads out of the way. Okay, so that is lining up nicely. Can move that out of the way now. Alright, and then I'm just going to put a wonder clip on there again and hold that in place, and I can remove that pin out now on both ends. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our seam, and we'll just move this out of the way for just a second. Alright, Get that holding in there. And I'm going to get my seam and line it up with the teeth here, okay? And then I know that that's the center. And then I'll pop a wonder clip on there to hold it. Make sure that it is centered. Lying nice and flat. And where is that seam? Some threads there getting in the way. All right, so that's that there. And then I'll just put some wonder clips on either side of that just to hold it in place. And then we'll do the same up at this end. Okay, and put one there and there. Now before we do any sort of sewing, we need to go over to the sewing machine and we need to top stitch down both sides of our little tabs, and then we'll be back to put them in here. Okay, so we've been over to the sewing machine and we've top stitched them down using 1/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to get seam allowance, and I'm just going to get rid of all my long threads out of the way. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to fold them in half, so you can see that it just creates a little tab. And then on the lining side, we're just going to take one of our wonder clips out, but I'll just keep it with the lining there. And then I'm just going to, with the folded edge going in, so we want our raw edges to be with our raw edges, okay? And I'm just going to come past the fabric just a little bit, probably about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and then I'll just pop my wonder clips back in place, and then I'm going to put one on the other end as well. Okay, so just holding everything securely, and then put our folded end in, and we center that up on the zip as well. Okay, and about 1/4 inch sticking out. And then pop our wonder clips back on. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to head over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch our sides down. Okay, so now what we're going to do, as we've trimmed all the excess off, what we're going to do is, it makes it a little bit easier to get rid of all that bulky stuff. And we're just going to pink the edge of our little bag here. And what that does is take some of the bulk out. When we turn it through, our corners will look a little bit better, a little bit more crisper. And when you come up to the center, you might not be able to get that through that because you've got that tab in there as well. So just don't go into your stitches and just go up to that tab and then just go off a little bit. So you're only taking a little bit off, but it'll just make it sit a little bit better when we turn it through. Things to remember: make sure that your zipper is open, make sure that you use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, make sure that you back stitch at the beginning and at the end of every sewing. And sometimes I forget to do it, so if you do forget, it's okay. The main part that you want to make sure that is back stitched is this opening here. All right, so you can see there our zipper is open, we've got that opening, and all we're going to do is we're going to reach in for our exterior and we're going to start pulling that out through the zip and through the hole in the lining. Get that out. And we have a last little bit of sewing to do, which is to close up the hole in our lining once we've pulled it through and given it a really good press. Now you want to go through the lining to get your exterior to come out, because it might be a little bit bulky with the lining fabric. So if you go in that hole and just to the exterior, it'll come out a little bit better. Okay, and the same on this side too. Alright, so we've closed our pouch. We've got our two little ends on there, so it makes it easier for opening and closing. But now what we're going to do, we're going to roll our seams again, and we are going to give it a really good press, and then we will close up the hole in the bottom. Now be careful not to get onto the zipper. We don't want to melt our zipper after all our hard work. Okay, next we'll open that up, and we're going to reach inside, and we're just going to get our lining fabric. We're just going to roll that over, and to do that all we need to do is put our fingers into the hole and just give it a little bit of a tug, and it'll roll over nice and easy. And then I'm just going to place a couple of pins in there, and I'm going to use my glass head pins because I'm just going to give it a bit of a press before I head over to the sewing machine. Okay, just pop that out. I'll just use the tip of my iron and just give that a bit of a press. Same on the other side. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go and do an 1/8 of an inch stitching, and then that get rid of any long threads that might get in the way, especially around the zipper area. And then our little pouch is done. Okay, so that is now stitched down. We'll get rid of that thread as well. Take our pins out, and there we go. Our little pouch is now ready to use. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I do appreciate you being here. I hope that you enjoyed making the flat zipper pouch. Quick and easy project to make. You'll be churning them out in no time. If you've made it this far, don't forget to give us a like down below. And if you're new here or a returning viewer and you've yet to subscribe, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it. And then that way you're not going to miss out on any of my future uploads. But that's it from me today. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And I'll see you all again next time. Bye for now.